Under the blinding glow of Hollywood, dreams are created. Yet within that same light, nightmares quietly take shape. Beyond the red carpets and flawless smiles lies a world shaped by enormous pressure, hidden struggles, and painful descents into personal darkness. We have seen them at the highest peaks of fame: pop legend Michael Jackson, the timeless innocence of Judy Garland, or the fallen and risen hero Robert Downey Jr. But how many truly understand the cost that came with their stardom? We will draw back the curtain to reveal the untold stories of stars who fought inner battles strong enough to shatter reputations, drain fortunes, and in some cases, claim their very lives. You may feel surprised, unsettled, and perhaps see fame through an entirely different lens. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, share in the comments which story you are most curious about, and like this video to support our journey of uncovering hidden truths. Daniel Baldwin. As a member of Hollywood's well-known Baldwin family, he seemed to possess everything: talent, recognition, and constant public attention. Yet in 1998, his life unraveled not through a dramatic role, but through a strange, real-life incident at the Plaza Hotel in New York that stunned the public. He was discovered running wildly through the hallways, visibly impaired, and was later arrested for possession of a banned substance. That moment was far more than a fleeting headline. It marked a very public collapse and a critical turning point in a struggle that had quietly begun nearly a decade earlier, when that substance first entered Baldwin's life in 1989. While many in Hollywood confront different forms of dependency, Baldwin's battle centered around a single, relentless force, one that steadily threatened his reputation, his fortune, and nearly his life itself. Baldwin's path toward recovery was far from gentle. In reality, it was marked by repeated and painful setbacks. He entered rehabilitation not once, not twice, but 9 separate times. Each stay was a desperate reach for release, a draining struggle against a force that refused to loosen its grip. Yet with every relapse came a difficult lesson, revealing deeper truths about the nature of dependency and about himself. Daniel Baldwin. As a member of Hollywood's famous Baldwin family, he appeared to have everything: ability, recognition, and constant public focus. But in 1998, his life unraveled not through a movie role, but through a strange, real-life episode at the Plaza Hotel in New York that stunned the public. He was discovered running wildly through the hallways, visibly impaired, and was arrested for possession of a banned substance. It proves that even in Hollywood, where forgiveness is limited and public judgment is relentless, redemption is still possible for those willing to fight for it and reshape their suffering into hope for others. Recovery is not merely a personal achievement, but a reflection of the resilience of the human spirit, showing that even when pushed to the edge of despair, people can rise again and discover light beyond the darkness. Jeff Conaway. A name forever linked to his role as the charming rebel Kenickie in Grease, the spirited best friend, and the warm, humorous Bobby Wheeler from the classic series Taxi. He carried a natural charm, undeniable talent, and a youthful smile that brought joy to millions during television and cinema's golden era. On the surface, it appeared to be a dazzling life, bathed in the glow of fame. But in truth, Conaway's life was shaped by a silent struggle that unfolded far from the spotlight. That suffering began to intensify in the mid-1980 seconds, not from personal recklessness, but from a serious on-set accident. A painful back injury forced him to depend on prescribed medication for relief. That single moment became a turning point, a quiet doorway into a dependency that would follow him for the rest of his life. Jeff Conaway's journey stands as a sobering reminder that addiction can arise from a place of genuine medical need. As time passed, his condition grew more complex and difficult to escape. What began with prescribed medication gradually expanded to include multiple substances, which slowly became a routine part of his daily existence. His struggle eventually unfolded in the public eye when he appeared on the reality program Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. Viewers witnessed not only his battle with chemical dependence, but also the emotional tension in his conflicts with a former partner who faced similar challenges. The exposure was controversial, yet it revealed a raw and unfiltered portrait of a star in crisis. Conaway's recovery proved to be a relentless and exhausting journey, marked by setbacks and made heavier by lasting physical pain and deep emotional scars. In the end, the peace he searched for always seemed just beyond reach. On the 11th of May 2011, a final tragedy unfolded. Conaway was discovered unconscious, with signs pointing to an excessive intake of medication. Despite emergency care, he fell into a coma and passed away a few days later at the age of 60. His story remains one of Hollywood's most heartbreaking reminders that even those who once brought laughter and joy to millions may be fighting unseen and devastating inner battles, battles that often end far too soon. Joanna Moore was once the very image of Hollywood grace, a gifted actress who appeared in more than 17 films and over 100 television episodes. Her beauty and skill left a lasting impression on screen, and her marriage to rising star Ryan O'Neal seemed to secure her place among Hollywood's most admired figures. Together, they had 2 children, Tatum and Griffin. Yet as Ryan's career continued to rise, Joanna's life quietly began to drift into shadow. Behind the glamour of the industry, she fought a private struggle with dependency, a battle that slowly unraveled everything she had built. This fight took place far from the spotlight, in sharp contrast to the brilliance she once knew. In 1970, Moore entered treatment in hopes of reclaiming control over her life. But less than a year later, an arrest for impaired driving not only stalled her recovering career but also resulted in the loss of custody of her children. It was a devastating double blow, pulling Hollywood's former golden girl into a deep downward spiral that seemed impossible to escape. The actress who once shined so brightly was now caught in an exhausting cycle of struggle and decline. Her daughter Tatum later recalled that her mother's home was chaotic, marked by harmful substances, alcohol, and deep emotional absence. Joanna Moore's final years were shaped by solitude and worsening health, made heavier by her long struggle with heavy smoking. In 1997, at the age of 63, Joanna Moore passed away from lung cancer, far removed from the dazzling spotlight that once surrounded her. Her life remains a heartbreaking cautionary story from Hollywood, proof that fame and beauty can fade in an instant when inner battles take control, leaving behind only the quiet memory of a star who once shone brightly. Brittany Murphy was one of the brightest young stars of the early 2000s, known for her boundless energy, unforgettable smile, and effortless ability to win over audiences. From the awkwardly sweet girl in Clueless to her deeply emotional performance in 8 Mile, she displayed a rare versatility that set her apart. Many believed she was destined to become one of the defining actresses of her generation. Her natural warmth could light up any scene, and her sincerity created a powerful bond with those who watched her grow on screen. Yet behind her radiant image and cheerful spirit, quiet signs of struggle began to appear. The relentless pressures of Hollywood surrounding appearance and body image led to noticeable weight loss, raising concern among those close to her. Her whirlwind marriage to screenwriter Simon Monjack, an unconventional and controversial figure, only deepened the sense of uncertainty around her private world. leaving fans and the media uneasy about the direction her life was taking. Then, in December 2009, a devastating shock rippled through the entertainment industry. Murphy was found unresponsive in her Los Angeles home and passed away at just 32 years old. While the official ruling listed pneumonia combined with anemia as the cause, public attention quickly turned to the toxicology findings, which showed multiple prescription medications in her system. Close friends later shared that she had been using pain relief medication following cosmetic procedures, a quiet path that has led many into unintended dependence. The story grew even more unsettling when, only 5 months later, her husband Simon Monjack also died in the same home under eerily similar conditions. The double loss ignited endless questions and theories. Was it illness, dependence, or something more complex? What remains certain is that the world lost a rare and luminous talent far too soon. Brittany Murphy's passing left behind a lingering sense of loss and the haunting question of what her future might have been. To this day, the final chapter of her life remains wrapped in a haunting and sorrowful Hollywood mystery, darker than any fictional tale. She was a flame that burned with rare intensity, a painful reminder that the pressures and temptations of Hollywood can dim even the brightest light. Still, her legacy lives on in the hearts of those who loved her, reminding us of the fragile nature of fame and the hidden cost of standing beneath Hollywood's glowing spotlight. Jodie Sweetin. For millions of Americans, she will always be Stephanie Tanner from Full House, the lovable little girl with quick wit, innocent charm, and unforgettable catchphrases. She grew up inside America's living rooms, appearing to live a picture-perfect childhood. But once the cameras turned away, she faced a far darker struggle than anything written into the show's script. Jodie Sweetin discovered rebellion and escape from the weight of fame far too early. At only 14 years old, she began drinking. Over the next 13 years, her life slipped into a dangerous cycle involving ecstasy, methamphetamine, and crack cocaine. The cheerful child star the world once knew was now trapped in a chaotic and self-destructive reality, quietly hiding this painful battle from public view. Her breaking point arrived in a public and deeply humiliating moment when she delivered a speech at Marquette University while still intoxicated after 2 days of heavy drinking. That moment, when celebrity and harsh reality violently collided, became a devastating wake-up call. Jodie realized she could no longer continue along that destructive road. Refusing to be defined by her past, she fought with everything she had to take back her life, transforming pain into purpose. Her path to recovery was far from easy. It demanded relentless strength. She achieved sobriety in December 2010, only to face another setback in 2013 during a painful separation. Instead of surrendering to those setbacks, she chose to transform them into stepping stones toward a stronger future. She began working as a clinical logistics coordinator at a rehabilitation center in Los Angeles, while also training to become a drug and alcohol counselor. Driven by a desire to guide others out of the darkness she once knew so well, Jodie Sweetin now stands as a living symbol of resilience, courage, and renewal. Her story proves that recovery is never a straight path. It is a long struggle marked by both victories and painful setbacks, yet always illuminated by hope. From a beloved child star to a powerful voice for second chances, she turned her personal battles into a lifeline for others. In doing so, she reshaped her legacy into one of strength, survival, and the unwavering will to rise again. Michael Jackson. He was far more than a superstar. He was a global cultural force, Through his music, revolutionary dance, and visionary artistry, he reshaped the entertainment world forever. Known as the King of Pop, he inspired generations and stood as an unstoppable presence on the world stage. Yet behind the sparkling glove and iconic moonwalk lived a man locked in a dangerous struggle with prescription drug dependence. That struggle began through accident and tragedy in 1984, after a devastating injury during the filming of a Pepsi commercial left him in intense pain. Doctors prescribed powerful medication to manage his suffering, unknowingly opening the door to long-term dependency. In the final 15 years of his life, his reliance on these drugs reportedly became extreme. It is said he used numerous false identities to obtain prescriptions from different sources, revealing the depth of his isolation, the turmoil within his private world, and the elaborate effort required to conceal his condition. Friends and family made countless efforts to step in, but he often turned them away, assuring everyone that he was fine and that there was no reason for concern. His chronic insomnia drove him toward increasingly risky solutions. In time, he came to rely on propofol, a powerful anesthetic normally reserved for strictly monitored hospital use. Yet Michael Jackson received it nightly in his own bedroom, administered by his personal physician. This unbroken cycle between a desperate need for sleep and dangerous medical dependence gradually pushed his body beyond its limits. On the 25th of June 2009, the world stood still. Michael Jackson passed away at the age of 50. His heart stopped after a fatal combination of sedatives and propofol. His passing remains one of the most shocking losses in music history, a painful reminder that even the brightest stars, adored by billions, can be overtaken by the silent battles they fight alone. Elvis Presley, the undisputed king of rock and roll. With his signature movements, powerful voice, and magnetic presence, he ignited a global phenomenon. He reshaped youth culture and became an everlasting symbol of popular music and American identity. His rise was a chain of triumphs, transforming him from a modest truck driver into the king, an icon unlike any other. Yet by the late 1970s, the man who once embodied vitality and fire found himself under the crushing weight of fame, deep loneliness, and ongoing physical pain. Life inside the grand walls of Graceland only heightened his isolation, cutting him off from ordinary reality and steady guidance. Tragically, the comfort and escape he sought arrived in a dangerous form, a growing dependence on prescription medication. Despite publicly speaking out against illegal drugs early in his career and even receiving a special anti-drug badge from President Nixon, Elvis quietly slipped into a dangerous routine of medication use. What began as a way to manage chronic pain, severe insomnia, and the relentless strain of constant performances slowly grew into something far more serious. His longtime physician, Dr. George Nichopoulos, later widely known as Dr. Nick, prescribed him thousands of pills over the years, including pain relievers, sedatives, and sleep aids. This unintentionally created a relentless cycle of dependence, where larger and larger doses were needed to feel the same effect. Friends and those closest to him watched with heartbreak as the once lean, vibrant performer gradually changed. He became swollen, constantly exhausted, and almost unrecognizable compared to the energetic artist who had once electrified the global stage. His health declined quickly under the weight of prolonged medication use and an unstable lifestyle. His final performances were often marked by flashes of the greatness that remained, mixed with visible fatigue and struggle, a painful sight for fans who remembered his unstoppable energy. On the 16th of August 1977, tragedy unfolded. Elvis was discovered unconscious in the bathroom of his Graceland home. He passed away at only 42 years old, a life ended far too soon and wrapped in sorrow. The toxicology findings later revealed a fatal combination of substances in his body, confirming the fears many had quietly held. The king had become overwhelmed by the very medications he believed he could manage. Elvis Presley's passing stands as a heartbreaking reminder that even the most powerful icons can fall not because of rivals or fading fame, but because of private battles fought in silence. If you share this perspective, comment 1. If you see it differently, leave a 0. Enjoy the video, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support our channel. We'd truly love to hear your thoughts on this story and how it shapes the way we view music legends. Join the discussion and let us know what you think. Robert Downey Jr. His rise from one of Hollywood's most notorious bad boys to the symbol of a billion-dollar cinematic empire is nothing short of legendary, a modern fairy tale of collapse and rebirth. He possessed a natural, explosive talent and a magnetic presence that made him one of the brightest actors of his generation. Yet, behind that brilliance stood a personal war as intense and unforgiving as any role he ever played on screen. For years, his life unraveled in a relentless downward spiral. In 1996, that descent became a national spectacle when he was arrested for possession of illegal substances and a firearm, and later discovered inside a neighbor's home in a confused and unstable state. That moment marked only the beginning of a painful cycle filled with repeated arrests, court hearings, rehabilitation attempts, and broken chances. The turning point came in 1999, when a missed drug test sent him to prison. His career collapsed almost overnight. Contracts were dissolved, trust evaporated, and producers no longer dared to rely on a man whose talent was undeniable but whose stability was fragile. For a long time, it appeared that Downey's extraordinary gift would be forever buried beneath the weight of his personal chaos, and that Hollywood had closed its doors on him completely. But everything eventually shifted. Even with the industry's deep doubts, Downey discovered the discipline he had long struggled to find, along with the unwavering support of his wife and closest friends, and most importantly, the inner strength to confront his own shadows. His recovery was not simply about leaving addiction behind, it was about rebuilding his entire life step by step, guided by loyalty, structure, therapy, and spiritual grounding that helped him reclaim control. Slowly, he earned back his place, starting with smaller roles and steadily proving his reliability and professionalism. That extraordinary spark within him had never disappeared. It had only been buried beneath years of struggle. His persistence was rewarded so profoundly that the governor of California granted him a full pardon, officially closing the door on his troubled past. When he finally stepped into the Iron Man suit, Downey was no longer just portraying a hero on screen, he had become one in real life. He transformed decades of hardship into a story of redemption that continues to inspire millions across the globe. Few comebacks in Hollywood history shine with the same intensity and power as that of Robert Downey Jr. He stands as living proof that even after reaching the lowest depths, the strength to rebuild and redefine your future always remains within your grasp. His journey is not just a personal victory, but a message about perseverance, forgiveness, and the courage to rise from failure into lasting success. Judy Garland. At the sound of her name, images instantly rise in our minds. Dorothy Gale, the shimmering ruby slippers, and the magical road leading to Oz. She symbolized innocence, wonder, and a voice so pure it could touch millions of souls. Yet the deepest tragedy of her life was not that she struggled to find her way home, it was that after finding it, she was never truly given the chance to rest. Behind that radiant smile and those sparkling eyes lay a painful story of a life molded and ultimately broken by the overwhelming weight of childhood fame. When she signed with the powerful MGM studio as a teenager, Judy was no longer treated as a girl, she became a commercial property. To preserve her youthful and slender appearance, she was placed on rigid diets and forced into exhausting filming schedules that steadily drained the life from her young body. The unbearable pressure led to a harsh routine imposed by the studio. Stimulants to keep her awake through endless workdays and sedatives to force sleep at night. By the age of 17, while the world celebrated her in The Wizard of Oz, Judy was already trapped in a dangerous cycle of chemical dependence. This was not a path she chose freely, it was a system she was ordered to follow. Those punishing years weakened her physically and emotionally, pushing her toward long periods of nervous collapse and deep isolation. Even after leaving MGM and moving to the stage where she became one of the greatest performers of her time, her inner battles never eased. Failed relationships, growing financial strain, and increasing reliance on medication slowly unraveled her life. The mounting pressure, along with relentless emotional and physical suffering, eventually became unbearable. On the 22nd of June 1969, the final heartbreak arrived. At just 47 years old, Judy Garland was found dead in London from an accidental overdose. She was not a typical addict, she was a casualty of an industry that consumed her talent without mercy. Her story remains one of Hollywood's most haunting tragedies, a powerful reminder of the heavy cost paid in pursuit of perfection demanded by the world. David O. Selznick. He was the visionary who lit the fire behind Gone with the Wind, the cinematic phenomenon that broke box office records, claimed 10 Academy Awards, and secured its place among Hollywood's greatest triumphs. Selznick didn't simply produce movies, he engineered cultural moments. Yet beneath the shine of that success lived a man chasing something far more perilous than ambition: Benzedrine. Selznick's reliance on the stimulant was no secret within Hollywood circles. It became part of his legend. He was known for crushing the tablets and drawing the powder from his hand to power through endless production days. He convinced himself that the drug was the source of his creative edge, but the cost was immense. Driven by amphetamines, his pursuit of perfection grew increasingly extreme. He demanded everything from his actors, especially his actresses, pushing them beyond their limits in the relentless quest for an image only he could fully envision. On set, his energy was commanding yet unpredictable, marked by sudden outbursts that kept the crew in constant tension. To work under Selznick meant surviving punishing schedules, sleepless nights, and the crushing weight of his uncompromising vision. For Selznick, compromise never existed. Every frame had to meet his impossible standard, regardless of the human cost. When Gone with the Wind finally reached the world, it was celebrated as a masterpiece. Yet behind the acclaim stood the shadow of a man who traded his health, his relationships, and his inner peace in the name of perfection. Selznick's life remains one of Hollywood's quiet warnings, a reminder that even the most dazzling achievements often come with a hidden price the audience never truly sees. Now, let's turn to a man whose real-life struggles were often more painful and turbulent than any role he ever portrayed on screen: Ryan O'Neal. Known worldwide for unforgettable performances in Love Story and Paper Moon, O'Neal captured audiences with his striking looks and undeniable talent. He became the image of the sensitive, conflicted heartthrob, Yet behind the shine of Hollywood fame was a private life deeply marked by addiction, conflict, and a fractured family history. The accusations cast a troubling shadow. O'Neal's son, Griffin, later claimed that his father introduced him to cocaine at the age of 11, a moment Griffin said changed his life forever. Their relationship grew increasingly strained over time, clouded by allegations of mistreatment and even an incident in which O'Neal was accused of firing a weapon during a heated argument. The tension between them only deepened with the years. Nearly every member of the O'Neal family faced struggles with substance dependency, making their private hardships as widely discussed as Ryan's own film career. His unstable relationships and unpredictable behavior became constant subjects of tabloid headlines, gradually eclipsing the celebrated career he had built. While his acting talent continued to earn respect, his personal life left a lasting mark, turning the O'Neal name into one of Hollywood's most cautionary stories. When Ryan O'Neal passed away in December 2023, the news stirred both nostalgia and quiet sorrow. He was remembered not only as a gifted actor who helped define a generation, but also as a man whose inner battles often overshadowed his professional success. His legacy stands as a striking contrast between the romantic hero audiences admired on screen and the deeply troubled individual behind the scenes, a reminder that fame can magnify both brilliance and vulnerability in equal measure. From a story of family tragedy, we shift to a modern pop icon who transformed a public misstep into momentum for success. Bruno Mars. A Grammy-winning superstar behind global hits like Uptown Funk and Just the Way You Are, Mars appeared unstoppable. With his smooth, golden voice, magnetic stage presence, and exceptional songwriting ability, he climbed the charts with ease and secured his place among the world's highest-paid artists. By his mid-20s, he was living the dream: international tours, sold-out arenas, and an endless stream of top-ranking hits. But in 2010, at only 26 years old, his soaring career took a sudden and risky turn. That year, Mars was arrested at the Hard Rock Casino in Las Vegas after being found in possession of illicit substances. For a rapidly rising star, the incident threatened to erupt into a scandal that could have halted everything. Instead of avoiding the situation, Mars accepted full responsibility, openly calling it a mistake and agreeing to a legal resolution. The conditions were firm: remain trouble-free for a year, pay fines, complete community service, and attend counseling. More than escaping legal consequences, the moment forced him to reevaluate his life and decisions. In later reflections, Mars admitted he hadn't been fully honest at the time, chalking it up to the poor judgment of youth. But the wake-up call clearly left its mark. From that point onward, he redirected his full energy into his art, releasing consecutive chart-topping singles, delivering electrifying live performances, and making multiple iconic appearances at Super Bowl halftime shows. That single misstep became a defining turning point, proof that even the brightest stars can stumble. Yet true greatness is measured by how powerfully one rises after the fall. And now, we turn to the story of a man who came to redefine what it truly means to be a survivor in Hollywood. Zac Efron. Once the polished teenage heartthrob of High School Musical, he appeared to have the perfect life: fame, wealth, and endless opportunity ahead. Yet behind the dazzling smile and blockbuster success was a young star quietly losing control. By the early 2010s, whispers of non-stop partying, heavy drinking, and substance use began to follow him. Alcohol and cocaine slowly became woven into his daily life, placing everything he had worked for in serious danger. In 2013, Efron made a defining choice. He checked himself into rehabilitation and confronted his struggles directly. Recovery did not come instantly. It demanded commitment, regular attendance at support meetings, close work with therapists, and the difficult process of rebuilding his life from the inside outward. In later interviews, he spoke with rare honesty, describing recovery as a lifelong journey. He admitted that those darkest moments taught him to value stability, health, and genuine happiness in a deeper way. Reflecting on that period, Efron once shared, "Without the lows, you can't truly feel the highs." Today, his comeback represents far more than physical change or box office success. At its heart, his story is about the search for peace beyond fame. From teen idol to survivor, Zac Efron proved that sometimes the hardest role an actor must play is facing his own inner battles and choosing to rise stronger. He didn't just succeed on screen, he overcame himself. His journey stands as powerful proof of self-reinvention, resilience, and the enduring strength to begin again. Finally, we close with the story of a rare gift, a star who remains one of Hollywood's most haunting unfinished promises, River Phoenix. He was not simply a rising actor. He was a once-in-a-generation talent with a natural magnetism that convinced the world he was destined for greatness. With powerful performances in films such as Stand By Me and My Own Private Idaho, he appeared ready to become one of the defining artists of his era. Yet behind his quiet nature and extraordinary sensitivity lay private struggles that very few ever truly saw. On the 30th of October 1993, after returning to Los Angeles from a film shoot in Utah, Phoenix spent the evening at the Viper Room, a nightclub partly owned by Johnny Depp. As the night unfolded, he began to feel unwell, but the seriousness of his condition was not fully recognized. Only minutes later, he collapsed on the sidewalk as his girlfriend, Samantha Matisse, and those nearby desperately tried to help him. Paramedics arrived swiftly, but the effort came too late. In the early hours of Halloween, at just 23 years old, River Phoenix was pronounced dead as the result of an overdose. His sudden passing sent shockwaves through the entertainment world and across the globe. Remembered for his kindness, passion for music, and devotion to his craft, Phoenix left behind a legacy that was at once inspiring and deeply tragic. Bright light can illuminate, but it can also fade quickly beneath the invisible weight of the public gaze. Many stars become symbols of perfection, while quietly enduring battles hidden far below the surface. In the end, their stories remind us that true value is often discovered not in applause, but in the darkest moments where we learn to search for meaning, strength, and the light within ourselves. The glow of Hollywood cannot protect anyone from the shadows within. Fame can lift a person to unimaginable heights, yet it can just as easily become a chain. Figures like Daniel Baldwin and Robert Downey Jr. found their way back through redemption, while gifted souls such as Judy Garland and Michael Jackson were ultimately overtaken by their struggles. Do you believe Hollywood has truly learned how to safeguard the people it creates? If this story moved you, be sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss our next journey into the hidden truths behind the spotlight. Thank you for watching.